Good morning. Today on Spotlight, a thoughtful conversation with Dr. M. Roy Wilson, the 12th president of Wayne State University. He has written his memoirs in a new book entitled The Plum Tree Blossoms Even in Winter. To say it's not your typical college president autobiography would be an understatement. It's a peel back the layers look at a very successful man. And later on our program, we'll remember the Tuskegee Airman Lone Eagle, the late Lieutenant Colonel Alexander Jefferson. It's Sunday, July the 3rd, just one day before Independence Day. I'm Chuck Stokes, and this is Spotlight. You've written a book, your memoirs. It's called The Plum Tree Blossoms Even in the Winter. Intriguing title. Where'd you get the title from?
Well, the earliest memory I have deals with this plum tree, and then the last thing I did when my mother was died was I put the inscription of the plum tree in her casket. So let me explain what I mean. So my mother took me to, who's Japanese,
Yes,
took me on a cherry blossom festival when I was a very, very young child. And that's one of the earliest memories I have about being with her. Afterwards, we went into a store and I asked her to buy me this inscription, of which I thought was a cherry blossom because I wanted to remember the day. But it was actually, when we went home and she read the inscription, it said the plum tree blossoms even in winter. So it wasn't a cherry blossom, it was a plum tree. and I was a little disappointed, but I kept that inscription. It was an etching with an inscription under it. I kept it throughout my life, and it kind of gave me strength because the plum tree is very symbolic in Japan, because it does grow in the dead of winter. It does bloom in the dead of winter in February, where most blossoming trees blossom in the spring. And so it signifies resilience. It signifies dealing with hardship and being able to make something out of it. It signifies hope. It's a deeply symbolic metaphor outside of my memoir, a traditional memoir. I talk about my thoughts about racism, about racial identity, being both Japanese and Black.
What was it like at that time? And I got the impression from what I've read in the book that deeply affected who you are today and the experiences that you went through.
Yeah, I mean, there was a time in my life when culturally, I was very Japanese because my mother brought me up by herself initially. My dad did not marry her when I was born. And at that time, it was in the early 50s. There were a lot of biracial kids who were born and who were abandoned, and particularly if you were Black and Japanese. The Japanese do tend to be very racist. And so it was just me and my mother for the first maybe 4 or 5 years of my life. My dad came into the picture when I was about 5 years old. That's when my sister was born, and they got married, and the rest of the story goes on. But the first part of my life was really exclusively with her. I don't remember seeing my dad during the first maybe 4 years of my life, which is why this trip, the cherry blossom trip, is so significant, because it is my earliest memory.
Sure. You speak very candidly about a lot of loneliness in the early part of your life, and you also battled a lot of health issues that you didn't talk about until much later in your life, and just now really kind of revealing a lot of these challenges that you had, whether it was heart condition or it was eyes, problems that you had with your eyes, which certainly I think contributed to what you wanted to eventually do in terms of your medical career, and then even cancer.
Yes. Yes, there certainly is a lot there. In terms of the loneliness part, let's start there. Um, I wasn't used to having a father around, and so I ran away from home all the time. And I didn't run away for just a little bit, a couple of hours. I ran away for days at a time. I ran away so much and didn't want to speak English that I actually failed first grade.
Wow.
Um, so that's one part of it. We came to the States when I was in the repeating my first grade, I think it was, until third grade. I went back in fourth grade, but my mother is, as fondly as I portray her, she also was not a good mother in many ways. She was a chronic gambler and left me and my sister alone all the time. My dad was in the service and he was never home. So I basically raised my sister, and we were alone.
You became her caregiver in many respects.
Yeah, there were times when, in fact, there's only one Christmas that I remember as a child, and I talk about that one Christmas that I remember. You would always think as a child that, well, my mother would be home at least for Christmas, and then Christmas would come and go, and she wouldn't be there. So in many ways, when you look at it objectively, she really had her issues as a mother, but nonetheless, because of our sacrifices that she made for me and raising me by herself initially, I present her in a very a fond way, but also try to be very honest about some of her challenges.
Sure. You talk about how you got into physical confrontations in your youth. I imagine some of this was a little bit just fighting for your own survival, but also acting out a little bit because of some of the emotional stuff that you were going through that you've articulated so well.
Yes, and it wasn't just when I was a kid. I mean, when I was a kid, I got into fights all the time, but but it went on to adulthood. I had really bad road rage, and was ready to get into a fight. On any kind of provocation. I'm lucky that nothing really seriously happened. Back in the day, people didn't carry guns in their car, things like that. But certainly, it could have been a serious altercation, given how bad my road rage was. People find that very surprising because I have a reputation of being very calm and never getting rattled and having sort of equanimity to my personality. But that's been something that I cultivated over many, many years after initially always resorting to anger and physical confrontation.
Sure.
And there's a couple of experiences that I had that got me out of that.
Absolutely. All right, we're going to take a quick little break. We're going to come back and then we'll talk about how you turned your life around and some of the major influences in your life to lead to you becoming one of America's super achievers. We'll be right back. Stay with us. Tell me about this English teacher that you had who had a major influence on your life and got you on the right road, so you ended up at Harvard University.
Yeah, Miss Stefan was her name. I remember when I first went into her classroom, she wasn't very happy about having me because she didn't.
You had a reputation.
Yeah, I have a reputation, and I was an athlete, and she didn't really like athletes. And she herself had a physical handicap. She had polio when she was a kid. And so she used 2 crutches to get around.
Wow.
And felt that because of her physical disability that she had been discriminated against throughout her career. And after a few, I don't know exactly how long it was, but shortly after I began in her class, she realized that that I was a pretty smart student, that despite the fact that I was an athlete, that I did okay in class, but I slept a lot in her class. And she confronted me about it one time. And, I explained to her that I was working, after work and all of this. I had basketball practice and football practice and all that. So she took some pity on me, and she allowed me to sleep during her class. But in return, I had to do special assignments. I had to read, other books, and I had to, meet with her periodically so that she could drill me on it. I tell the story about being a little uncomfortable going to my high school prom because I had never done any fine dining or anything. And she actually took me to a fine restaurant and explained to me, how to eat, what utensils to use.
Wow.
And how to do it and so forth. I mean, that's how she was. And she helped me select my college. I really was not even thinking about the kind of colleges that she thought I should go to. I was an athlete, as I mentioned, and I was getting some scholarship offers to go to, different athletic oriented schools. And she really thought that I needed to be in an environment that I wasn't going to be so distracted with urban life, so to speak. And so I got basically sent away to Allegheny College in Meadville, Pennsylvania, where all I did was study and was able to do well enough to go to, as you already said, Harvard Medical School.
What's the lesson to be learned here in terms of mentorship and friendship, and why you wanted to write this book to make sure that people understand that where you start in life is not where you have to end up in life?
I would not have succeeded in life had it not been for her mentorship, but also the friendship of a few people who I talk about in the book. But the lesson really is that even in the hardest, darkest of times, that if you persevere, that you can come out of it. And I see kids all the time in college, particularly at Wayne State, who have stories that were even, as bad as my story was in terms of my childhood. Mm-hmm. I know of kids who have equally challenging, if not more challenging, situations they have to overcome. Even in the darkest of times, something can come out of it, as the plum tree shows.
Sure, absolutely. All right, we're going to take a quick little break here, a little pause for the cause. We'll come right back and want to talk to you about something you write about in your book, The Politics of Race and Education. We'll be right back. Stay with us. Dr. Wilson, certainly you've had quite a career. You've been the president of 4 different universities, the dean of 2 different medical schools, a deputy director at the National Institute of Health. You've had a major impact both in terms of education front as well as medical career. You've experienced so much. But you also write very candidly about the politics of education and the politics of race.
All Black men face some level of bias or racism. I talk about a situation with the police that I had, which ended up okay, but it ended up okay because one of the police recognized me because I took care of his mother. It could have been ended up tragically. Mm-hmm. And so I do believe that every Black man has some sort of experience similar to what I had. And so I talk about that very candidly, and I talk about racial identification very candidly. As my dad's generation experienced racism in a different way than I've experienced it, but I've experienced it in a way that's different than my kids. And I sometimes have been very critical of people like, I don't know, Tiger Woods, I use as an example, who have never really been, in my opinion, didn't embrace their blackness, I guess, and until until they got into trouble, and then they were all of a sudden portrayed as thugs. Um, I think that he's. I explained that through the fact that he had not up until then. He's a different generation than I am. Had the same experiences that I've had, and certainly I was critical of my dad because I thought that he should stand up more and not take some of the indignities that I thought that he that he took from white people. And again, I was being a bit naive because he's in a different generation and it was a different time.
Has education in general become too political and getting us away from the primary purpose of education, and that is to take students, regardless of their age, and prepare them to be successful in life?
The politics of education is beginning to determine what they're taught and what they're not taught. As you know, in Florida, there's legislation that's out there that is trying to make sure that universities don't teach anything related to critical race theory. Well, there are certain things that should always be taught about our history. And politics is going to affect what kids are able to learn and what they're not able to learn. But so far, I think that the politics has really seeped into the governance of universities, and the selection of university presidents, I think, is one area where politics has really, over the past 10 years, come to an extreme. There are a lot of failed presidential searches that have happened over the past 5 to 6 years because boards, picked presidents based on political considerations and not based on the president's qualifications in terms of higher education and what they could do for the students. And I talk about that a lot because it has been something that has evolved, I think, during the time that I've been a president. And I have noticed it tremendously to the point where I'm very, very careful about whatever I say because, it can always be misconstrued in a way that is used against not only you as a person, but against the school that you lead, unfortunately.
Sure. Final question. What's next for Dr. M. Roy Wilson?
There's a lot of things I still want to do. I'm actually thinking about writing another book. So that's on the radar screen. It's just a matter of having the time to do so. You have mentioned having the time to do this book. I was able to do it because of the pandemic, and I didn't have as many evening appointments as I usually do.
So there is some good that came out of the pandemic.
So I was able to spend my evenings writing. Obviously with the pandemic getting better, my evenings are beginning to get booked up again now. So I'm not going to have as much time. So I may have to wait until after I retire from the presidency to do it. But there are a couple of books ideas for books that I have, one of which is a more of a scholarly kind of book that relates to higher education. But another one is a novel. I like to do, I like to try to be creative, and I enjoyed writing the memoir, and will like to try my hand at writing something that's totally fictional and see how it goes.
All right. The book is called The Plum Tree Blossoms Even in Winter by Dr. M. Roy Wilson, president of Wayne State University. Thanks for sharing this fascinating book, and to really get the full depth of it. People need to go out and pick it up and get in a good, comfortable chair and take it all in. And thanks so much for joining us today on Spotlight. Best to your wife, Jacqueline, and we'll stay in touch with you.
Thank you very much. Enjoy the day.
Thank you. It's our pleasure. And coming up, remembering Lieutenant Colonel Alexander Jefferson. And finally today, we close with the words of Detroiter Lieutenant Colonel Alexander Jefferson, who passed away recently. It was always a pleasure to sit down with this Tuskegee Airman, a World War II survivor. Born and raised in Detroit, Alexander Jefferson always knew he wanted to fly.
And I fantasized myself growing to be a pilot, but I knew it was impossible because I knew racism even at the age of 4, 5, and 6.
But World War II changed that. Black military manpower was sorely needed. Armed with his Clark College degree in chemistry and biology, Jefferson was assigned to pilot training school at the Tuskegee Airfield in Alabama. But there were Americans in the Army and outside the Army who thought you all didn't have the brains
Or the ability
to fly an airplane.
That's right. Blacks were depicted as being stupid, ignorant, so forth. Our whole life was under segregation at that time.
But they flew with an amazing record of protecting America's white bomber crews.
They knew we were great.
Fellow Detroiter and Tuskegee Airman Top Gun winner, Lieutenant Colonel Harry Stewart.
I call him number one courageous, and I'm thinking of the mission that he went on where he was shot down. And for him to go on that mission, and I'll say now that that mission was a suicide mission. They were coming in over the water, they had no place to hide, they could not sneak up on the target, and they were like sitting ducks. Exactly, that's what I was going to say, like sitting ducks.
In honor of these men, in every class, of all the rest of the 900 men, the 25 to 30,000 people who were part of the Tuskegee Airmen, in their honor, I graciously accept. In their honor. Certainly a fitting way to commemorate July the 4th. I'm Chuck Stokes. Have a good holiday.